The drums in Umwagu village had stopped long before the sun hid behind the hills, but a storm of whispers continued to rise in the compound of Okoro Obiora. He was a man of quiet dignity, known for his wealth and his heart that bore more patience than any other in the village. But that patience was about to be tested, in ways no one could predict. Obiora had loved his first wife, Chinasa, with a devotion that glowed brighter than the morning sun. She had a gentle heart, a soft smile, and hands that healed the weary. Yet the village tongues were cruel, and Chinasa bore no child. Obiora, being the only son of his father, carried the weight of tradition, the burden that a man must have a son to inherit the family property, for it was said in Umwagu that daughters, no matter how bright, could not hold the legacy of their fathers. It was for this reason he had taken a second wife. But when Kambili came into their home, her beauty was matched only by her fire. The day she arrived, she walked into the compound with her head high, a smile that suggested she already knew the power she would wield. She bore a son swiftly, and from the moment the infant's first cry echoed through the hall, she made sure everyone knew that the child existed because Chinasa had not. Kambili's eyes always carried a spark of challenge, and her words cut deeper than the village blacksmith's blade. She whispered insults to Chinasa when she thought no one heard, calling her barren, useless, and unworthy. She flaunted the boy's gifts, his clothing, the way he was carried everywhere in the compound. She coddled him, spoiling him with an indulgence that angered Obiora to his very core. But each time he tried to discipline the child, Kambili raised her voice, her furious storm, and Obiora would find himself appeasing her just to maintain a fragile peace. Every morning, the village saw the tension in the compound, Chinasa's quiet endurance, Obiora's careful steps, and Kambili's fiery presence, like a shadow no one could ignore. The neighbors whispered that the family would crumble, that the first wife would live in shame, that misfortune would strike Obiora's household for daring to balance love and tradition. Yet Obiora bore it all silently, moving like a man walking a tightrope over fire. He loved Chinasa still, cherished her like the rare pearl she was, and prayed that the family would somehow find harmony. But the nights were heavy. Chinasa cried in the darkness, whispering prayers into the cool air, begging the gods for patience, for hope, for the impossible. And then, one evening, everything shifted. A small secret, overheard in the village by an eavesdropping neighbor, hinted at a truth that Obiora could not yet know. Kambili had not been completely honest about her child. The whispers carried a dangerous promise of revelation, one that could shake the family to its very root. As the moon rose over Umwagu, Obiora sat outside, staring at the shadows of his compound. The wind carried hints of deceit, of betrayal, and a secret that would soon surface. Chinasa pressed her hand to his shoulder, and he felt the tremor of her heart against his own. Little did they know, the family's fate teetered on a delicate thread, ready to snap. The next morning, the village stirred with the usual chatter of market calls and children's laughter. But inside Obiora's compound, the air was thick with unease. Chinasa sensed a change in the wind, a heaviness in the rustling leaves outside her window. She tried to keep herself busy, tending to the small garden she loved, yet the feeling of something hidden gnawed at her. It began quietly. A neighbor who had overheard the conversation in the dead of night approached Obiora, cautious but insistent. "Sir," the man said, lowering his voice, "I heard Kambili speaking with another man. She says your son is not yours." Obiora froze. The words cut through the morning air like a spear. He had loved and trusted Kambili, had endured her pride and cruelty to Chinasa, and now this. The walls of the house seemed to close in as a storm of disbelief, anger, and betrayal raged inside him. He watched the boy playing in the courtyard, laughing, oblivious to the truths that would soon change his life forever. Obiora's heart ached, yet he knew what he had to do. There could be no compromise, no second-guessing. Tradition demanded justice, and his heart demanded truth. Kambili returned that evening, her usual arrogance in place, unaware that the village had begun to whisper about her deeds. Obiora's voice was steady, but his eyes burned with a quiet fury as he spoke. "Your time here is done," he said. Return to your father's house. Take nothing. The bride price shall be returned. Her face twisted with disbelief, then rage, but the villagers' eyes were upon her. She had no allies left. As she left the compound, the wind seemed to carry her arrogance away, leaving a silence that settled like dust over the family. In the days that followed, Chinasa's body, long patient and enduring, began to blossom with life. The cries of newborns soon filled the once quiet halls, and to the village's amazement, she bore triplets, all boys. Obiora's joy was boundless, and the children, each a reflection of hope and legacy, were raised in the love that Chinasa had always deserved. The village learned of Kambili's betrayal, and the whispers became lessons, that love tempered with patience endures, that truth eventually surfaces, and that the gods often reward those who endure with integrity. Obiora and Chinasa became a symbol of harmony, their children growing under a roof of peace, respect, and laughter that no storm could shake. By the time the sun set over Umwagu, the compound radiated a calm that had once been unimaginable. Obiora held his sons, his heart finally at ease, while Chinasa smiled softly, whispering thanks to the ancestors. And in the quiet of the night, the village could almost hear the laughter of the family carrying far beyond the hills, a story of patience, betrayal, and ultimate triumph that would be told for generations to come. Yet, even in this newfound happiness, a shadow lingered. Late one night, as Obiora cradled one of the infants, a faint knock echoed from the outer gate. No voice accompanied it, only the deliberate rhythm of someone waiting. Chinasa shivered. Who could it be at this hour? She whispered. Obiora's brow furrowed. He rose, moving toward the gate, heart pounding. As he opened it, a folded piece of paper lay at his feet. Trembling, he picked it up. The words scrawled inside were brief, chilling. Not everything has been revealed. The truth you think you know is only the beginning. A cold wind swept through the compound. Outside, the village slept unaware, but inside the walls of Obiora's home, an uneasy silence settled. He looked at Chinasa, her eyes wide with fear and anticipation. Something, or someone, was coming for them. And the next storm would not wait. The future that had seemed so certain was suddenly shrouded in shadow.